Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We are mixing it up a bit today. No video, just audio. So think of it as a classic podcast. Now let's get right into it. Quick heads up, this episode includes discussions of sexual violence and other forms of extreme violence. Please take care while listening. Today, abused and detained for months or years and free for now. What Palestinian prisoners can tell us about the future of the Israeli occupation. I'm Kevin Hirten, and this is The Take. Hey, for today's episode, we wanted to talk about Palestinian prisoners after the recent exchange. But as far as the ceasefire, the dust has still not settled. Since the start of the ceasefire, Israel has violated the truce agreement at least 80 times, killing at least 97 Palestinians and wounding more than 230. So before we hear from our guest, here's a quick update from Gaza. This is Al Jazeera's Maram Humaid.
Working as usual, documenting the first days since the ceasefire came into effect, we were surprised by the sounds of Israeli shelling in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army resumed intensive strikes in Gaza, resulting in the killing of more than 24 people, including women and children. Despite Israel announcing its return to compliance with the ceasefire. And all of this signals how difficult the situation in Gaza is and how unpredictable life has become. People are faced with virtually no choices, especially regarding their gradual return to the north of Gaza. And everyone has lost confidence in this fragile agreement as there are no guarantees to enforce it on the ground. And today we were just in a very low state of mind as everyone feels despair. The war carries many layers of conflict, including the lack of water, the power, the essential services, and there is no infrastructure, and with the mass destruction around us. And meanwhile, the conflict continues in hidden and unofficial ways, leaving none of us able to fully understand or explain what is happening.
I'm Shawan Jabarin. I am the General Director of Al-Haq, the first human rights organization in the Middle East. It was founded in 1979. I'm in Ramallah at this moment at the office of Al-Haq.
So, Shawan, as we speak, the ceasefire is hanging on by a thread. Do you want to start us off with just your thoughts on the state of play? Do you think the ceasefire will hold?
I have a doubt that the ceasefire will continue for long. If there is a pressure, if there is intervention by the third state parties, by the US mainly, to stop them, I think they can. I think the US, the only one who can stop the Israelis in 5 minutes, not in 5 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about prisoners. Around 2,000 Palestinian prisoners have been released under the October Hamas-Israel ceasefire deal. Now, that sounds like a big number, but it's still a small portion when you compare it to the roughly 11,000 Palestinians that Israel held at the turn of this month. How do you view this prisoner exchange? Does it change anything?
I think the prisoners exchange by itself, it's very important, to the Palestinians, very important, to their families, the society in general. Even the Israelis also, it's society and their families also, it's important. On a human level, it's important. Political level, it's important. But unfortunately, the Israelis, they continue arresting people, not just with small numbers. Every night, every day, they arrest 15 to 30, 35 persons without any due process. This is, the case that they do. That the numbers that you speak, if it's reduced, the Israelis in few months, they will go to the same number and more than that. It's a continuous policy in the occupied Palestinian territory. That's the case. It's nothing new, but after October 7th, you are not speaking about 11,000 Kevin. You are speaking about 18,000 Palestinians. They were arrested in West Bank only during this time.
Wow.
And more than that, from Gaza, there are thousands. They still missing, disappearing. And the question, where are they?
So for this latest deal, here's the breakdown. 250 of the Palestinians released were security prisoners. These are people who were convicted by an Israeli court and are serving prison terms dating back decades in some cases. But the vast majority, about 1,700, were seized by Israeli forces in Gaza over the last 2 years and have been held without charge. Now, this is not a strictly wartime phenomenon. Before this exchange, about 6 in 10 Palestinians in Israeli prisons were being held without formal charges under what Israel calls administrative detention. And this is the term I want to drill down on. Can you help us understand who these prisoners are and what life is like for prisoners trapped in this administrative detention?
Kevin, administrative detention is an arbitrary detention. The Israelis, they use it as part of its policy. It's a punishment policy. And they take a person, from home without giving him or talking to him about the reasons why they are put him or her in prison, and give him or her, let me say, 6 months administrative detention, and they can renew it for unlimited time. Many times, some people, they spend 8 years continuously, in administrative detention. Others, they spend, not just one time, maybe they spend 15 to 16 to 20 years under administrative detention in many different times. That's the case, and they call it secret file.
Yeah.
When do you try to defend yourself? How I can defend myself if I have no information, if I have no specific accusation? And here I can defend myself or my lawyer. The case of administrative detention, it's a widespread practice. You are speaking about tens of thousands of Palestinians. I was one of the administrative detainees during the first Intifada. I used to spend around 8 years like that, but not in one time. The longest, it was 2 years. 2 years. And we were 7,000 administrative detainees in one time in Negev desert, in different places, in the tents, in the desert. That's the case. And at that time, we used to have deaf people. We used to have 75 years old people with us. We used to have also professors in law and different subjects. And we used to have also 16, 17 years old children together. This is a policy of a punishment against Palestinians.
Yes, and yet after this large-scale release, we're seeing Israel rapidly filling its prisons again. For example, just last week, Israeli forces detained a 7-year-old child and his mother in Jerusalem. To me, this feels like an under-discussed aspect of the occupation. Can you talk about how detainment and the threat of detainment like this helps Israel maintain this apartheid status quo?
It doesn't happen against the Israelis themselves. It doesn't happen against the Jews, for instance. It happens against Palestinians.
Yeah.
They have free hands. They do everything. They do every horrible things. Atrocities against Palestinians. The imprisonment, it's one of the main policy that they have in their hands to destruct, to control, to undermine the society and everything. They humiliate people. They humiliate, fathers, parents, wives, children, everything. It's happened in a daily practice. It happens every night, every day. I'm not speaking about only the 30 or the 35 or the 20 they were arrested, and this child or the other child. Now, there are 150 children in Israeli prisons.
Yeah.
After the exchange, they haven't released them.
Yeah.
When we speak that this is an apartheid, we mean it.
Shawan, bring it down to the ground level. Talk about how this modifies behavior, right? How this is a form of population control, how it's a form of controlling people's behavior in the West Bank and Gaza.
Look, they can't control, the society and their behaves and their way of thinking. But I can speak also about the Israeli, how they behave. Look, before, it's not like today. I myself thought that Israel, maybe they have limits. I discovered that they have no limits.
Yeah.
I used to think that they have institutions. I discovered they have nothing when it comes to Palestinians.
Yeah.
I thought that they have law. I discovered they have no laws, ever. That's the only law that they have is how to humiliate Palestinians, how to control their life in every aspect that they have. And when you treat them in prisons, before they used to treat Palestinians better, little bit, but the torture, it was a continuing policy. We as Al-Haq, many times, we released reports about torture, physical torture, psychological torture, different ways and methods that they use. But comparing with these days, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. You can't compare. You can't compare.
We'll have more with Shawan after the break. So, Shawan, alongside the release of prisoners, Israel has also been returning the bodies of Palestinians, many showing signs of abuse, torture, even organ removal. And there's an image that I just cannot get out of my mind. It was a video of families at Gaza's health ministry in Khan Yunis. They are sitting around a screen trying to identify remains. It's awful. The director of the government media office had a quote. He said, "Many of the corpses appeared to have been run over by tanks or partially melted, while others showed signs of torture and execution." What do you make of these reports, and what is Al-Haq doing to document or investigate them?
Look, this is part of the work that we do, and also other organizations that they do. Because of that, we will send, and we sent already to the Palestinians in Gaza, how they have to document these things and how they have to keep the evidence, every evidence that they have, to keep it in according to standards. This is important. If it's not important today, it will be tomorrow, for the accountability, for the history, for everything, that this is what the Israeli committed against Palestinians when they imprisoned them, how they tortured them, how they dealt and treated them. They treated them badly. And the picture, I think, Kevin, it's bigger than what you ask or what you describe it, because there are also other Palestinians.
Yeah.
Still, the Israelis, they don't recognize that they keep them. The question is, where are they? I'm speaking about thousands. The Israelis speaking about 10, 20, something like that. We are speaking about thousands. Where are they? How they treated them? But this picture, it shows the nature of the Israeli policies and the nature of the Israeli values and the nature of the Israelis, treatment of other humans. This is part of the stories that we documented as Al-Haq. And if I give you, what's these stories, part of these stories, there is no program can have all of these things together.
Yeah. There is a history in this conflict of both sides taking captives. How do you compare the treatment of captives in Israel versus the captives that were taken by Hamas?
Look, I can't compare. But even from the videos that they were released, I saw, how they treated in Gaza, the Israeli prisoners they treated in Gaza. Anti-Palestinian prisoners, for instance, now they are treated by the Israelis. Most or all of the Palestinians now in the prisons, they lost between 40 to 50% of their weight. Even many of them, when they released, their families, they don't recognize them. They don't recognize them. I myself, when I saw some of the people, I know them before, I don't recognize. And I didn't recognize that this is the same person that I know. That's the case. Why? Not because of the food only. How they are treating them in a daily basis. How they torturing them and beating them and not giving them, enough food. This is how they're treating Palestinians.
Finally, there's something even harder to talk about, which is sexual violence. Now, this is something we've reported at Al Jazeera as well. A recent Al Arabi TV investigation documented at least 10 cases of sexual assault against Palestinian men in Israeli custody, some describing rape with sticks, others saying detainees from Gaza were raped by dogs.
This morning, we published a report titled More Than a Human Can Bear, dealing with Israel's systematic use of sexual, reproductive and other forms of gender-based violence since 7 October 2023. Our report finds that Israel has increasingly employed sexual, reproductive and other forms of gender-based violence against Palestinians as part of a broader effort to undermine their right to self-determination.
Shawan, help me understand the sexual violence component of this, because the effect this might have on Palestinian men. Does this go beyond just criminal violations of international law, in your opinion, and into the realm of kind of deep psychological torture?
It's beyond that. When it comes to the methods, it's not just only by dogs or sticks. In some cases, there are real also rape. That's against females and males. This is what we are documenting these days. And not all of the prisoners, they mention that when you ask them. But the trend, it's beyond what you think and what you imagine. Why they do this? I think this is a sick system.
Despite the horror of being imprisoned in Israel, there's also a camaraderie that can develop. In fact, some of the leading figures in the Palestinian struggle have come out of this Palestinian prisoners movement. Can you talk about that, how prison has served as an incubator for some in the resistance project?
Look, when I mentioned the numbers of the Palestinians, yes, now if you go everywhere, Palestinians, they know each other's from prisons. And they build. It's a movement. You can say it's a movement. It's a movement because the Israelis, the oppressive regime, build completely the opposite things that they want. The Israelis, they thought that by imprisoned Palestinians, torturing them, you can, weakening the Palestinians. But the result's completely the opposite. No, the Palestinians, they know what it means to be in prisons. And even emotionally, consciously, or it's different completely. Now, Palestinians, they are standing behind their prisoners, 100%. I think the rest of the Palestinian society in general, not just the prisoners, and mainly in Gaza, it needs, to rebuild. It needs a support in different ways and different means. And it needs also to maintain a hope in people's minds. But you can't build and rebuild and maintain hope without immaterial things, without specific ways. And the people, they have to feel it. They have to feel it in their homes. They have to feel it in their community. If you can't address the root cause, you will miss the right track.
When you see these recurring waves of arrests, of releases, and you see the images of the returning prisoners, what does this bring up for you personally and emotionally, and how does that inform the work you do at Al-Haq?
It brings to me one main thing. This state, it's so weak, really, because the humanity and the human values, it showed the level of your strength. That's the Israelis, okay, they have, F-35. They can control, they can destruct, they can do everything. But for me, I take one example, how they are treating prisoners. And I think this is what reflects back to their society. Sooner or later, it will go back how they will treat their families, how they will treat their society itself.
Shawan, thank you very much for coming on The Take today.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
And that's The Take. This episode was produced by Marcos Bartolomé and Melanie Marich, with Catherine Nouhan, Amy Walters, Fatima Shafiq, Tamara Khandaker, and me, Kevin Hirten. It was edited by Alexandra Locke. Our sound designer is Alex Roldan. Our video editors are Hisham Abu Salah and Mohannad Al-Melhem. Alexandra Locke is The Take's executive producer, and Ney Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. We'll be back tomorrow.